The paintwork, like most modern cars, is rather weak. Because of this, scratches and chips appear even from a slight mechanical impact. The body iron is well galvanized, due to which it is prone to corrosion. Even a plastic of chips, rust does not appear for a very long time. One of the most common problems is the failure of the hood latch, stops closing. Temporarily solution: before closing the hood, put the lock tongue. Often, lubricating the lock is enough to fix the problem. If the wipers cease to cope with their duties, most often on the passenger side, it is necessary to replace the trapezoid lace bearings 510 CU. Over time, the rear window washer starts to work every other time. The reason is that the washer fluid flow switch valve is wedged. Before buying a car, be sure to check the operability of the heated rear view mirrors. The failure of the heating elements is a fairly common occurrence. Also, special attention should be paid to door locks, keyless access stops working, and the rear window bursts with sudden changes in temperature. During operation, it is necessary to carefully monitor the drainage system and, if necessary, clean it. Otherwise, it will clog and water will begin to enter the cabin through the air intake. Often, moisture gets on the electronic unit responsible for controlling the climate system fan and disables it. All power units are equipped with a timing belt drive. It is recommended to replace the belt with guides and tensioner rollers every 60,000 kilometers. To replace the timing elements, it is advisable to turn to experienced specialists. The fact is that the pulley has a keyless fit, and if the mounting bolt is not tightened, the pulley can turn, thereby provoking a fatal meeting of the valves with the pistons. The crankshaft damper pulley serves 150 to 100,000 kilometers. About problems with the damper, rattle in the engine area will tell you, which disappears when you press the clutch pedal. At the same time as the timing belt, it is recommended to change the pump, since very often its resource does not exist 80,000 kilometers. Another ailment that is common to all motors is the failure of the cooling fan resistor. Symptoms: the fan constantly runs at medium speed. The 1.6 gasoline engine is considered the most common. Its weak point is the unreliability of the phase regulator. Crackling appears during the start of a cold engine and diesel at idle. Also, the engine may not start the first time. And failure of the camshaft position sensor. The 2.0 motor, like the weaker unit, is not without problems with the phase regulator. The owners note an unpleasant squeak during engine operation. The reason is the peculiarity of the operation of the membrane of the crankcase ventilation system. On both power units, the ignition coils are not famous for their reliability. The SAGEM coils have earned the most notoriety. If the engine stops starting, the reason, most likely, lies in the oxidized contacts of the crankshaft sensor or freon pressure in the air conditioning system. It is tied into a common power culprit with other sensors of the power unit. Both engines do not like an economical driving mode, costing, etc. As a result of such operation, malfunctions occur in the ignition system. Carbon deposits appear on the candles. Also, this mode can provoke cocking of the rings. The service life of a gasoline pump rarely exceeds 100,000 km. Renault Scenic 2 with diesel power units was not officially delivered to us. Most of the specimens were imported through outbids. As a rule, in Europe such cars are bought with a mileage of 150,000 kilometers or more, and in our secondary market, most of these cars are sold with a mileage of 100–120,000 kilometers. In Europe, the average car service interval is 20–25,000 kilometers, which negatively affect the engine life. At a power unit with a volume of 1.5 liters, after 150–200,000 kilometers, it turns the connection rod bearings. Symptoms: a knock appears during the start of cold engine, and also with an increase in speed. To avoid expensive repairs, it is recommended to replace the liners after 150,000 kilometers of run. Replacing the liners costs $120–150 USD. If the liners are not replaced in a timely manner, the crankshaft will have to be changed 6–800 CU. The 1.9 DCI turbo engine did not bypass this ailment. Unlike a weaker motor, here this ailment manifests itself on a run of over 250,000 kilometers. The turbocharger is reliable and with proper operation is able to last more than 200,000 kilometers. Replacing the turbine will cost $3–400 USD. Depending on the years of manufacture and engine size, fuel systems from different manufacturers were installed on the car. Delphi, in the most capricious, was installed on cars until 2006. Siemens since 2006. Bosch, the most reliable, was installed only on 1.9 DCI engines. Renault Scenic 2 was equipped with two types of gearboxes, 5 and 6-speed manual and 4-band automatic transmission DP0, installed in tandem with gasoline power units. The mechanics are reliable and do not often bother their owners. The most common ailment of a manual transmission is the oil leaks at the junction of the clutch housing and gearbox. The problem is not widespread. Also, some owners note unpleasant twitches at the beginning of the movement. The problem is treated only by replacing the clutch kit. The average clutch life is 120–150,000 kilometers, but the automatic transmission on cars of the first years of production turned out to be a rather problematic unit. Problems with automatic transmission can begin after 70–90,000 kilometers. The first symptoms of the upcoming repair of the box will be twitching. If you do not contact the service, over time the box will go into emergency mode. The reasons are failed oil seals, valve body, solenoid valves, torque converter, etc. On cars manufactured after 2006, the first problems with automatic transmission begin after 120,000 kilometers. The cost of repairing an automatic transmission ranges from $2 to $400. An independent McPherson strut suspension is installed on the front and the semi-independent beam on the back. In good condition, the Renault Scenic 2 suspension is able to provide a fairly comfortable ride. The chassis is the Achilles heel of this model, especially on cars from the first years of production. The weak point of the front suspension is wheel bearings. On pre-styling versions, they could fail after 15–30,000 kilometers. On restyled cars, the situation has improved significantly and the bearing life has increased to 70–90,000 kilometers. Also, consumables here can be attributed, and ball bearings, on average they run 60–70,000 kilometers. Stabilizer struts nurse up to 80,000 kilometers, bushings up to 120,000 kilometers. Over time, the bushings eat up the stabilizer. Because of this, when replacing them, their seats have to be sealed. Shock absorbers and thrust bearings I can creak after 50,000 kilometers. With careful operation, they will last 100–120,000 kilometers. Silent blocks and levers nurse up to 150,000 kilometers. The rear suspension is considered not to be killed. Despite this, on some specimens, after 100,000 km of run, silent blocks had to be changed. They are changed assembled with a beam. Closer to 200,000 km, the shock absorber springs need to be replaced. The coil of the spring breaks off. In the steering system, the weak point is the right rack bushing. It quickly breaks. Symptoms: knocking from the front of the car while driving on a rough road. Also, brand and steering tips are not famous for their endurance. The average service life is 40–50,000 kilometers. When replacing, it is better to give preference to a good analog. At the same time, tie rods can last up to 130,000 kilometers. In the brake system, sometimes there are problems with correct operation at the automatic parking brake, electric handbrake. The pads do not completely move away from the disc. The reason is that the cable turns sour. A replacement is required. Also, the ailment can be caused by the failure of the dual relay on the control board, in which case the repair will cost $3,500. The quality of Renault Scenic 2 finishing materials corresponds to the class of the car. Of the shortcomings, only uncomfortable front seats and creaky plastic can be noted. Things are much worse with the reliability of the electrical equipment of the cabin. Most often, owners are faced with the malfunction of power windows and air recirculation systems. Also, a common ailment is the failure of the dashboard and the breakage of the driver's airbag connection cable. If moisture gets into the passenger compartment due to a clogged drainage system, the electrical wiring begins to rot over time, as a result of which the electrical equipment of the front rear of the car fails: wipers, feet, number plate lights, etc. On a car with a mileage of 100–150,000 kilometers, there may be problems with the air conditioner. The most common is the jamming of the air conditioning compressor. Often, the air conditioner stops working due to the failure of the electromagnetic clutch and pressure sensors. Also, wear of the system pipeline and seals at the joints can lead to a malfunction of the air conditioner. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your view that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.